let's go ahead and start. Good morning, everybody. Let's set up like this. So I have 4 blankets. All right, 4 blankets in this shape. So this is a Sarvangasana fold, and then fold it one more time. No, look at me. Look at me. Hold it, so it's like, here's Sarvangasana fold. Okay, this is Sarvangasana fold, and then fold it like this, okay? And then stack 2 of them like that, and place them at toward the head side of your mat, okay? I'm trying to show you different ways to set up to accommodate different conditions. Now, 4 blankets, Sarah. Now, keep watching, I'm not done. And then fold number 3 blanket. Sarvangasana fold plus 2, all right? That goes here. Basically, as an extension of the other blanket. And then another Sarvangasana fold plus 2 here. Okay, make sense? One more blanket, Pam, yeah. These blankets are wrong, Sheila. Turn them. Correct. But always the folded edge faces the body. The folded edge is what's going to touch you, yes. Okay. This pillow, look how I place my pillow. Okay. It goes right there, in between. Do you see? Yes. Okay. So this setup is, I would say, like sort of the gentlest, mildest setup. You know, the bolster is higher. The bolster is a little bit harsher. Some people have discomfort. Now that pillow looks too high, Pam. Let me see. Okay, so that top blanket, Pam, fold it one more time. Yes, correct. Fold it one more time. And put it in between. Yes, like that. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so the purpose of this setup, so go ahead and lie down. Sit a little bit in front of it. Legs bent, tuck the chest, lie back. And then have the arms at your sides. And extend the legs one by one, as usual. All right? So the purpose of this setup is, it's not as high, and it's not as pokey. It's a little more passive than the other setups. So it's for people who are not able to tolerate the higher lift. Sarah, it looks too low. I think you need a couple more towels or blankets. So the height underneath me is about 3 inches. I'm getting up. You stay. Sarah, I see what the situation is. The blankets under the back need to be folded one more time. The blankets under the back need to be folded one more time. Each. Don't do it together. Do it separately. Otherwise, it's going to be too. Oh, I see. It's one blanket. The folded edge always faces in. The folded edge always faces the trunk, the body. The part that's going to touch you is always the folded end, because the folded end is always the even end. The open end is uneven. Okay? Do you have another blanket to go on top of it? Okay. Yes. All right. So it's a mild lift. It's a modest lift. This is the setup that we use for Shavasana when people are ill, when people are recovering from cancer, going through cancer therapy, when people have low back pain. If you have low back pain, then it might be uncomfortable to have your chest on a bolster, to have your trunk on a bolster. Or even like a narrow three-fold blanket. It's not enough support for people who are ill or injured or unused to having any kind of a chest lift. So this setup is sort of the most accessible, kind of a baseline setup. Anybody can do this setup. Beginners can do this setup. And so anyway, we're starting with this so that you can experience it. Every setup has a different effect. So now, settle into Shavasana. Let the back spread. Because it's kind of a wider setup, then the back can spread. The back ribs spreading, shoulders descending, collarbones wide. And a slight slope from the forehead down to the chin, chin down to the throat. A gentle Jalandhara Bandha, nothing harsh. So today, what I invite you to explore with your breath is the density, the weight of the breath. So as you lie here, observe the density, the weight of your resting breath. Don't do anything special right now. Just study your resting breath. We have to learn how to be kind of like scientists with ourselves. In yoga, we call it being both subjective and objective at the same time. Subjective in that you are really feeling, you're doing onto yourself. You are the agent, but you are also the recipient of the observation, the recipient of the actions. So you are the object, but you are also the subject because you are the agent acting upon the object, which is your body and your mind. So you have to be kind of scientific here as you observe your breath, observe your senses. The first thing you did, of course, was arrange your body so that you could be completely at rest. So there's no discomfort at all, but that there is this gentle lift of the heart and lungs. Shoulders are higher, chest is higher than the hips. So observing the density of the breath. You could even say sort of the texture of the resting breath. Now, as you begin the transition to Ujjayi breath, exhale completely. And as you inhale, gently lift the navel up and back so that the breath, as it travels up, becomes lighter in weight. Lighter, finer, more misty as it travels up toward the collarbones. And then release the breath. And continue in this manner. Don't necessarily go for the deep breath right away, but let the breath develop into Ujjayi, shifting from the abdominal breath to the chest breath, and observing the breath after the exhale, as you begin to inhale, observing the breath get lighter in texture and density as it travels up toward the collarbones, filling the chest cavity. So there might be a feeling of heaviness when you begin the breath in the lower abdominal region. But as you lift the breath up into the chest region, into the rib cage, into the upper ribs, top chest, notice how the breath gets lighter. The density changes. As the breath takes up more and more surface area, as the breath takes up more and more space. Make sure that as you continue these cycles of breath, that the hands are soft, the wrists, the thumbs, no gripping in the groins and the legs, in the arms, in the face and the throat, completely passive. You do need to engage a little bit of abdominal lift in order to bring the breath upward. And as the breath fills the rib cage, the abdomen pulls up and back to give the breath a chance to kind of effervesce throughout the entire rib cage. At the very top of the breath, near the collarbones, you might even feel like the breath has like completely evaporated and it's just pure space there at the very top chest, at the height of the inhale. And then as you exhale, observe the breath getting denser as it returns to the source. So we're observing the quality of weight, the quality of density, the texture of the breath, moving from the resting breath into the Ujjayi breath. Take 3 more cycles like this and then return to your resting breath. And when you finish, bring your hands to your trunk, bending your legs, Roll off the blankets to your side and sit up. Okay. So now take your blankets and stack all four of them. Okay? Like this. And have a seat. Make sure that the folded edges are facing forward because that's the even edge. All right? The folded edge of the blanket's facing forward. And then cross your legs and have a seat. Sitting in swastikasana. So remember, the swastikasana seat is pretty particular. It's the knees coming forward. So rather than a wide-legged seat, it's kind of a narrow seat, as if you're sitting inside of a box. Now, do this adjustment with me. Take hold of the shin bones like this. One hand in front, one hand in back. Do you see where my hands are? One hand in front. Have your feet a little bit forward, Sarah. Yeah, so that there's more of a kind of a boxy feeling. Okay, one hand in front, one hand in back. Now pull the shin bones away from each other so that the knees can come down to the floor a little bit more. Press your hands into the blankets to make sure that the buttock bones are level. You know, this is an asymmetrical leg position, so it's never going to be completely level. But press your hands down and lift the chest up and see if you can get the chest to be square, the buttock bones evenly pressing down. If you have extra blankets, feel free to put blankets under your knees. But if you don't, then don't worry about it for now. So with your hands pressing down behind you, let's talk about today's theme a little bit more. So we're talking about the density of the breath. So here in the abdominal breath, this is the root chakra, this is the pelvic basin. And from a pranayama level, we talk about the breath originating. Of course, there's not lung tissue down here, but the mechanism of the breath begins in the abdominal region. And so we're lifting the breath up, and as the breath lifts up and spreads, it becomes lighter and lighter, more and more sort of effervescent, and then all the way up to the top. We could also apply the awareness of the elements, the 5 elements. So we could talk about how this represents the earth element in our bodies, the lower abdominal region. But then as it travels up, it becomes water, fire, air, ether. Ether is just pure space. And so as you lift the breath up into the chest region, can you feel it getting lighter and lighter? And then at the very top of the breath, just pure space up here at the top of the chest. Okay, we'll do a few cycles seated in this manner. So I would say for today, keep the hands pressing down behind you so that you can use the arms to maintain the chest lift, all right? Now, from here, roll the shoulders back, lift the abdomen up and back, and then bring the chin down into Jalandhara Bandha. I'm keeping my head up so I can watch you, but you bring your chin down and lift the chest toward the chin. Not to lean forward, not to lean back, but lift the chest toward the chin. Soften the throat. Exhale completely. Slow, soft inhale, originating in the earth part of the trunk, lower abdomen, pulling up, navel up and back, which lifts the breath up into the rib cage. Feel the breath getting lighter and lighter until it's all just space at the very top of the chest. and then return the breath to its source. Exhaling softly, slowly. If you need to take a resting breath, go do so. Otherwise, begin the next cycle. Exhale completely. Inhale, lifting the breath up. Feel the density of the breath changing as you draw it up into the ribcage region. Feel the breath filling the ribcage, coming all the way up to the very top chest. Let it effervesce and spread there. And then slowly exhaling. Returning the breath. Feel the density changing as you exhale. Take resting breaths if you need to. And then repeat. Do continuous cycles if you can. Of Ujjayi stage 8, Bahya, abhyantara, Ujjayi seated. At the very top of the chest, can you feel the breath spreading all the way out to the corners of the shoulders? Also, can you feel the breath filling the back body? One advantage of seated pranayama is that you can get more sensation, more awareness into the back body. And remember, in terms of the physiological body, most of the lung tissue is in the back body. Also a feeling of moving the diaphragm from front to back, not to push the diaphragm forward, which is going to harden the abdomen and impede the flow and the softness of the prana spreading and rising. The diaphragm moves back as you continue the Ujjayi cycles. So can you feel the air, the ether moving all the way through the side ribs and the back ribs, filling the back body as well as the front body? Take resting breaths in between if you need to. And then complete this cycle. And when you're finished, keep your eyes closed or bring your chin up. Bring the head back to the top of the spine. And just sit quietly for a moment. All right, open your eyes. Change the cross of your legs. Stretch your legs straight. And then sit with the other leg coming in first. Okay, so different cross. Do the adjustment again. So the hands, one hand in front, one hand in back, and then pulling the shin bones a little bit apart so that the knees can descend. All right, and support the knees if you need to. If you have an extra blanket, feel free. Now, let's just do one more seated pranayama. Let's move on to viloma. Okay, so interrupted inhales. So in terms of the density of the breath, the first stage is going to come from the pit of the abdomen to the bottom ribs and pausing there. So here it's still kind of a dense breath, and then from the bottom ribs to the nipple line, so that now you'll feel the texture of the breath, the density of the breath really changing. And then from the nipple line all the way up to the collarbones. And so you should feel all of this very airy, very light, even a sense of ether, a sense of space in this top chest region. And then slow, soft exhale. Okay? So we'll just do a few cycles together. I'll talk you through it. So once again, press your hands down just behind your buttocks to give a little extra lift. And then bring your head down. And exhale completely. Inhaling in the lower abdominal region. Abdomen moves up and back. Pause. Inhale again from the bottom ribs to the nipple line, about the level of the armpits. Pause. And then inhale all the way up to the top of the chest. Feel the breath changing textures as it travels up. And then exhale, slow soft exhale. Get ready to do another cycle. Exhale completely. Inhale, lower abdomen. Pause. Inhale to the middle of the chest. Feel the texture of the breath, density of the breath changing. Pause. Inhale all the way up. At the topmost region, a feeling of spaciousness. And exhale. Not to collapse the chest when you exhale, but exhale slowly with control so that you maintain this sense of spaciousness. And then one more cycle on your own. Abhyantara viloma. This is viloma stage 4. Once you finish that cycle, then return to normal breathing. Bring your chin up with your eyes closed. Sit quietly. You can rest your hands on your lap. And gently open your eyes. Stretch your legs out in front of you. And for the final Shavasana, you'll take your stack of blankets. So lie flat on your back. If you need a blanket under your head, that's okay. But if you don't, then just lie flat on your back. And then the blankets are going to go on top of the thighs. And this weight on the thighs is to kind of help to settle the legs. And by settling the legs, the spine also gets to settle. Bringing earth element to the legs. I'm coming up so I can see you. Bringing earth element to the legs to the legs are the organs of actions. The arms, the legs are among the organs of actions, the karmendriyas. So when we quiet the karmendriyas, then we quiet our sense of action in the world. We quiet that impulse to move. We allow ourselves to get a little more sattvic when we quiet the legs, when we quiet the arms. So let the body just soften and rest here. Let the breath be a gentle, soft abdominal breath. Even as you're resting, you can observe what is the texture, what is the weight, what is the density of my resting breath. All right, so now you can stay in Shavasana as long as you wish to. I'm going to end the class. Thank you all for coming, and see you next time. Thank you for doing tech.